Well, 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 race fans, would you take a look at that? The biggest and baddest track we have on the NASCAR circuit. Talladega Superspeedway, site of tonight's final race in the round one here for the NASCARRPG 250 live for the JoinAPS.com Cup Series. I'm Alex and Rish. Is about to join us here in just a few moments, but I cannot tell you what to expect here, folks, because it is the great unpredictable. When you go to Talladega Superspeedway, we call it the great unknown because anything can happen here. And tonight, you hope to be one of the 9 that'll be able to survive on with their playoff chances still intact. You hope to have a car still intact at the end of this one. I'll now bring in my good colleague there, Rish. Rish, I love Talladega Superspeedway. You cannot script the drama that comes with this racetrack, especially now being added to the playoffs here tonight.
Yeah, you absolutely can. It's a great way to end this first round of the chase. Just how crazy things have been this entire chase, right? You know, we talked about it 2 weeks ago at Rockingham, how that was kind of the only normal racetrack that we visited, because then you had Suzuka last week, you have Talladega this week, kind of 2 wild cards here to eliminate the first 5 drivers, and here after 250 miles, we are going to eliminate 5 of those drivers. So a lot to play for, a lot to worry about for these drivers, but obviously a lot can happen between now and the end of this one. So we can pull up that chase grid and that chase order and what it looks like, and really any of these guys are kind of in with it at a shout. Michael Goodman been a little bit unfortunate. He's the only guy who's really in a majority win and you're in situation. But I mean, you look at just about everybody here in that field except for and Goodman's still with a shot. They've all got a chance to advance this next round here. Foley and Massey very close to advancing there on points. I think they're basically a lap lead away from being able to do so. So, yeah, a lot to play for tonight, though, by that cut line. So looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
Exactly. Take a look. That's something, as a car owner there, Rishav, you probably aren't too comfortable heading into tonight's race. That 0 mark between both Thornquist and Isabella there. Basically, it's going to be who can finish ahead of who that decides who's going to have their playoff chances still intact when we throw the checkered flag at the end of this one. Looks like Scott Crump, that 90 car, he is going to be on the front row along with our last season Daytona 500 steering champion. How about Johnny Thomas? A good front row start for him. I know that is something he has been dying to have. He seems to always be a factor when it comes to these plate races. He's had a lot of bad luck trying to turn that around late in this season. Just behind him, row number 2, Joshua Adams and Josh Robin. Justin Deward having a great run as well. He was in the 5th position there before we get to Bronson Stafford, Tyler Foley, Jeff Green. That's quite the matchup there. Row number 4, Joey Chapman, who was within half a lap of winning the last Superspeedway race we came to. Ryan Scholl, also with Little Eagle Racing, had a great top 10 last week.
Yeah, for sure there. Nick Massey, Chad Frankenfield, 2 more of our chasers just outside that top 10. Massey, again, tied with Fody on points. Those 2 should be relatively safe and can kind of take it a little bit easy or go all out on this one because they should be good to go. They can kind of play around with that, grab some extra chase points to help them in that next round. Then you got Scott Haney, Josh Clark making up that next row, Robert Hill Jr., Trevor Elam, Tate Lytle, and Chad Thornquist. Lytle, the only guy officially who was locked in after his win at Rockingham 2 weeks ago. Thornquist, the guy who's right there on that bubble. We just talked about it heading into this one. Looking through the rest of the field here, look out for all those chasers. Look out for everybody who's been involved in this chase battle so far. We'll point them out to you as the race goes on. Shane Terrian down in 36th, and the 38 drivers taking the field. Taking the green flag here tonight. Joshua Hodges will round up this field, but 1 pace lap complete. The pace car is going to peel off here, and it's going to be all in the hands of Scott Crump, getting ready to start here for the NASCAR RPG 250.
Oh, man, she's the biggest and the baddest track on the circuit, and she's about to receive the green flag here. 94 laps to decide who is in and who is out of the playoffs. Round 14 for the JoinAPS.com Cup Series about to be underway at Talladega Superspeedway. The green flag is in the air. Scott Crump leads them down into turn number 1. We are racing under the green flag at Talladega.
Yeah, very delayed start there. Of course, Talladega, that start-finish line a little bit later in the tri-oval, and already you see guys 3 wide on the start here as they're getting up to speed. That 61 car, Bronson Stafford, already out of the draft here, and he's going to have to find his way back in there. 3 wide again. You see the 06 of Ryan Schuld up top on the racetrack as well. Guys still getting up to speed here, building that up to 178, 179. It looks slow right now as they're just getting rolling here, but already 2x2 for the lead here. Johnny Thomas with support from Josh Robin on the outside, Tyler Foley and Jeff Green now lining up on that outside as well.
Yes, side by side throughout most of the field, double wide through 10th place on back. That outside line, though, going to get a big shove, and Johnny Thomas in that 91 there, help from Josh Robin, looking to try and lead lap 1 on the high side. He'll do it. He'll bring along about 4 cars in his wake as well, making 5 as Chad Frankenfield trying to crack inside the top 10 here today. But just as we were talking about that outside line, here comes Tyler Foley bringing the charge on the inside line. Mr. Consistency there, doing a great job in that 40 car. He is expected to keep that car out of trouble and up front all day long. We'll see what happens there. 3 wide. Wow, Josh Robin, he'll slice to the inside and he'll barely take the lead in front of the 38. A Jeff Green 3 wide action once again in turn 3.
Yeah, that middle lane coming alive there. Frankenfield and Jeff Green, they're leading the way. But once Robin took over that bottom lane, they kind of shot ahead and kind of left the other top two lanes in their dust. And now it's 4-car lead for the bottom line before you get to Jeff Green there running that middle lane. You get to Johnny Thomas then running that top line. Really not too organized up top there. The bottom right now looks the most organized. These guys just right now scrambling for positions, looking to settle in for a run here.
There's Michael Goodman, perhaps the man with the most to gain and everything to lose there in that 44 car. He's now to the inside of our outside pole setter there, Johnny Thomas, who has fallen deep in this field, as now the front 4 cars are about to be single file, and they put a little bit of a gap. That's Jeff Green leading along the charge in that second pack, but just to his outside is going to be Scott Crump, who almost blips just a little bit. That'll be something we'll be keeping an eye on. That 90 car, you don't want to have a lag, especially deep in this field in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, absolutely not. And so, yeah, we've already got a bit of a breakaway. Those top 4 cars up front now being joined by Jeff Green and Chad Frankenfield before you got a little bit of a gap here to this 2-wide battle. So top 6 right now starting to move a little bit away. We'll see if they can maintain that gap or if these guys who are a little bit more organized maybe, though running side by side admittedly, as these guys actually don't look too bad back here either. Very organized, all in a single file. Can they pull away from the rest of this pack here? What's that gap look like? There's Dustin Dewar, who's in 7th position alongside David Tooker. They've got a long way to go to catch up to that lead group.
And we've seen this before happen in real life where things kind of get messy and disheveled there in that second pack, where if, as you see, a big run to the outside, wow, take a look at that, the 61, he's going to have to jam on the brakes there, nowhere to go. But all that 3-wide action there, taking a lot of energy, taking a lot of pace out of that second pack. That first pack there, single file formation, they're able to cut through the air, and you see them begin to pull away there. They've almost put a good second right in front of Dustin Dewar in that 32 car. I don't think that's exactly what we expected so far early on lap 5 here, Rishav, how we already have 2 big packs, one really pulling away, that front one.
Yeah, lap 5's really, really early for that, isn't it? I mean, for those guys to have created that separation early on just goes to show this could be a really interesting race, how it plays out. But the battling that we're seeing here just a little bit further back shows us that this could be very good side-to-side racing as well. Just, you know, on that initial start, those guys up front all got single filed out super quickly, and while these guys were fighting here, they were organized and just kind of built up that gap while guys were kind of side drafting off each other, kind of taking away that speed from each other. And now you have this 2.5-second gap that it's built up to between Dustin Dewar and 6th place Chad Frankenfield. So crazy just how quickly that's picked up. Again, of course, now that we're starting to see a little bit more organization on the bottom here, can these guys start to push back up to that lead group, or are they kind of going to hope for a caution to pack this field back up?
Yes, and I do believe if you don't want to be the last car to the party there. We normally see this sometimes, single file itself out there, especially in the Cup race where drivers somewhat aren't comfortable with the position they are racing. They just want to kind of log a little bit of laps here. You see Trevor Elam in that 29 car dive on the line. In fact, he'll go extremely wide, entering turn 3 in the high lane by himself. He's going to lose a ton of positions, perhaps hot in that race car on the front grille. They're trying to get air ducked into it. He was tucked up underneath that 32 car, but he has lost indeed all the way now, kicked out, I believe, outside, just just outside the top 15, running along in the 18th position there. These guys, now you're seeing that second pack. Wow, look at them. They are side by side, about 20 car lengths deep in this field. So you need to have the separation of these two packs because of how they're racing. That is why we're seeing the separation of these two packs. They have not been able to order themselves at all, and that first pack is really driving away. The gap now really growing to about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy just how far ahead they are. Joey Chapman now leads this second pack as he and David Tooker have both made that move on Dustin Dewar. Yeah, 3.5 seconds to the leader, Josh Robin, there is kind of ridiculous. And if you go back up to the lead group, everybody very content here, staying in line and just continuing to pull away from this next pack. It's kind of crazy now as they do finally single file out here for the most part up front, but I think the damage has already been done. You see right there quite a bit of time before you get to the first two wide, and that was Elam and Thornquist. And then the rest of this pack also now, again, single filing out. Now we have to get back all the way to 22nd position before we see Joshua Hodges running on the outside compared to everybody else. So, you know, we're starting to see these guys single file, but again, too little too late, I think, on this particular run. So now it's settle in and try and just match what those guys in front are doing. I don't know if they'll be able to close in too much in terms of lap time, but at the very least, just hang on and don't risk losing more time.
It looks like they're able to do a little bit there. This second pack, the best thing that they do have that is going for them is the fact that there are more of them versus the 6 cars up front now. As we see this second pack, and I mean, let me tell you, it is like a freight train 1 mile long, led by that 60 car, a rookie, that's Joey Chapman. He is no stranger, though, to leading a pack. As I mentioned earlier in our pre-race, lap, he was within half a lap of winning the last super speedway race we had before contact with him and a teammate there sent him around in turn 3. But right now, the gap has now dwindled down to just a little under 3 seconds. Just that little bit of finally being able to be orderly in that second pack has allowed them to run down our front 6 cars who were once 3.5 seconds, now just 3 as they enter the trial.
Yeah, for sure. It is starting to slowly but surely kind of close that gap in. And I think, again, these guys are organized. You've got David Tooker, who's committed right now to pushing Joey Chapman. And right now that'll at least help them catch up to Chad Frankenfield at the back of that group, because Frankenfield, if you think about it, is having to check up. He's the one who's got the most draft power in front of him. He's got the most ultimate speed available to him, but he's happy just kind of hanging out here. And yeah, that gap's going to close up pretty quickly if these guys just continue pushing each other. Already down to 2 3/4 seconds. So yeah, potentially within the next 5 or so laps, we could see this all back in one big pack.
Joey Chapman going to lead that brigade there as we continue to take a look at the second pack up front as you ride on board with Joey Chapman. You can see them right there, those 6 cars, very orderly. And let me tell you something that these guys are doing up front, that these guys that are now trying to get a handle as we take a look from the rearview mirror. Wow, close quarter racing here at Tallagega Superspeedway. It always seems to be the case once we go to NASCAR's biggest stage. But as I was mentioning there, those guys up front, they were very much little wear on those tires there. These guys, even though it is a super speedway race there, these guys were pretty much doing a lot of saving right there. So we'll see what happens as this second pack begins to really make progress and get to the back bumper of the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. And the next question will be, what will they do? Do they decide to stay single file? Does somebody decide to shake things up and get that outside line going again?
Yeah, for sure. We'll kind of see, and potentially that could come together once that second group approaches this lead group. The second they start grabbing the draft, if they are able to, that's when you might see all those guys start to hop to the outside or maybe pick the inside lane, depending on where this group goes. Maybe some of these guys will hop out. The ones you want to keep an eye out for in this particular group, to me, is going to be Josh Adams, I think, over here. He's 1 point outside, or at least coming into this race, he was 1 point outside of making the next round of the chase. We know he's an extremely accomplished super speedway racer, extremely quick, and he's the only guy here that's kind of in danger in this lead group here. I mean, you look at everybody else who's involved here. Josh Robin is not a chaser. Tyler Foley, we think, should be locked into the next round here. Scott Crump is not a chaser. Josh Adams is there just below the cut line. Jeff Green, not a chaser, and Chad Frankenfield, a little bit more secure. He's about 10 points to the good here. So, or at least again coming into this race. So right now, Josh Adams, the one kind of with the most to lose, but also the most to gain, of course, being right there on that cut.
Been a little bit of commotion there. It looks like the 40 is doing all he can to give Josh Robin a shove down the straightaway there, about 200 miles an hour. The gap has now stabilized between the first and second pack at around 3 seconds. They've not really made any headway the last couple of laps, but things we expect to be picking up later on in this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our championship contenders that are deep in this field. Trying to take a look here and see what's happening right there. Tate Lytle, the only car. I see him running along in the 24th position there. Tate is one of these guys that he does not like super speedway racing. It does not matter if it's Daytona or Talladega. The good thing for him, though, he is automatically into the next round with his win at Dover. That's got to feel good.
It's got to feel good, especially after the season he's had. The next guy just in front of Tate Lytle, Shane Terrian right there, just behind his teammate Bronson Stafford. Look out for these guys who are, of course, the Sky Motorsports drivers. We've talked about them a ton, and at super speedways right now, I think they're 2 for 2 in this season at super speedways, both at Daytona, of course. So we'll end up seeing if it works out for them that they're able to kind of sweep these large stages here this season. But right now with Stafford and Terrian outside the top 20, I think you saw there Joey Chapman was an 8th. Nick Massey actually dropped way down the order. He's right now sitting in 34th. He was a little bit further up there. Might have dropped back, though, to kind of stay out of trouble. Keep an eye out for those guys as the laps wind down. But for now, all of them, really, except for 1 or 2, just outside of this top 10. And even Chapman now has dropped down to 12th, so he's lost a couple of positions, too.
Interesting to see this play out and unfold here, because as we see a couple of cars dive down low, maybe signaling that they're about to go down pit road. That was abrupt. That would be the 57 car. And another competitor as well was dropping down low. So I have to wonder, are people planning on pitting? That would signal to me that something is amiss, but perhaps they just decided to bail out for whatever reason. Meanwhile, back to the eye of the storm there, you're starting to see that outside line beginning to fall out as one car almost slammed to the outside wall. Got a little bit of help, I believe, from the 5, and that would be the 94.
Yeah, 94, Kendall Noah player, kind of a super speedway specialist here right now, running in 22nd, up 12 spots from his starting position here. So he kind of started all the way in the back for this one. We'll keep an eye on that 94, see how he kind of progresses. Look for him to continue working there with the 5 car of Alec Balvins, with the 10 car of Jared Rexing. All those guys on the same team effectively there. So expect them to work together throughout this one. But yeah, right now we're seeing double file back up here in kind of this last group. They've again separated a little bit from that lead pack, or it's separated even more from the lead pack now, up to 4.5 seconds, as now David Tooker leads the way over Daniel Martinez, Josh Clark, and Chad Thornquist all on this top line here. That's your top 10, but again, 4.5 seconds, almost 5 seconds now behind those leaders now that they've gone double file again. And Tooker's around.
And he's into the inside wall hard, a championship contender. A hard hit to the inside, safer barrier. He gets going back on the track. He got help, I believe, from the car that was just right behind him. Oh, no. This is not what David Tooker, who had made the move to lead this front pack back up to contention, and everything went around for him in a horrible way.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a look here. Is Daniel Martinez just behind him? Could just be like a little bit of a bad block here coming off the corner. There you see, and just hits the corner. You can see these cars like to be bumped. When you're bump drafting it, they want it to be straight on there, and that's when David Tooker went around there. So just that misalignment on the bump from the 33 car, and Tooker goes around. here he is onto pit road. We stay under green flag conditions. This is going to be a huge blow to the number 19 car as he drops all the way down the order right now. He's got to hope he can keep that thing running and hope that there are some bigger crashes happening further up the field later on in this race that can kind of help him gain some of those spots back. Because right now, where does he sit? He's a little bit more comfortable, but still, I believe was only about 20 points clear of the cut line coming into this one.
He was as comfortable as you can be, perhaps, of everybody that was inside the playoff bubble for the top 9. But now all that 20-point cushion has definitely gone away, so he's going to need help from a couple of other competitors, or that could have been the championship hopes of David Tooker going up in smoke there on the end of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway there. Unfortunate.
Seriously unfortunate. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, that's just Tallagega, right? We talked about it, and so quickly things can change for these drivers. Suddenly we're back to single file in the second group. They kind of had that brief moment of double file. David Tooker paid the price, and now everybody's kind of back in order here. So you know, you're just going to get those moments of chaos here that show up on the racetrack, and just moments of just not necessarily even bad judgment. It's just, you know, just things happening the wrong way that no driver intends for anything bad to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough for these drivers.
And that's why Tallagega is just so frustrating. So much of your destiny is controlled by the drivers around you. This competition there, as they snake down the backstretch. So much is circumstance, having the right things go right, being able to avoid when things go wrong. Tallagega Superspeedway, and keep in mind, folks, this is all happening at 200 miles an hour. You have to make a split-second decision. It's fast. It doesn't matter if it's just a video game. You have to be on it, or you could be in it with no chance to avoid it. So that's what makes Tallagega so frustrating for some, so fun for us at home, but definitely behind the wheel, it might be a different story for these guys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're a chase driver at Tallagega, I mean, you are just so nervous having to deal with, you know, all this stuff that's going on around you. And the problem is that you can drive a perfect race, you can do everything right, and a lot of the times your fate is in the hands of another driver, and you can't quite control that. So you have to trust the guys around you. You have to surround yourself with guys that you trust, and only then will you maybe feel a little bit safe. But even then, I mean, that was David Tooker and Michael Daniel Martinez, Pro Edge Racing, Fueled Up Racing. There is a technical alliance there between those two teams. You'd think there'd be communication, but there you can see, even between, you know, as close as you can get to teammates without being teammates there, still running into issues.
So Thornquist, that old 2 car, who you'll remember that graphic that we showed right before during the pre-lap coverage, we had a tie on the bubble around the cutoff point, and that was between the 02 of Thornquist and the 12 of Vincent Isabella. That 12 car is that bright red car you see just mid-pack. That 02 car is a guy that he needs to beat. It's basically going to come down to who finishes ahead of who if it were to be heads-up racing. With points being that close as they run. But the 02 taking matters into his own hand, trying to lead that charge. He needs to make sure he's in front of that 12 car, though, when all is said and done.
Thornquist, I think just as you were talking about him, Thornquist, the 02 car, dropping down the order. It was a blink, and has to drop all the way down that order there. So that's going to hurt him right there. Not sure if there's damage on it, but just saw him falling down our timing and scoring screens. No damage on that car, but big internet issues there for the 02. So effectively a mechanical problem there. Hopefully he's back up and running there, but right now that car looking slow right now, trying to get back up to speed, but that's going to hurt his shots right there, down to 33rd, and he was running in 7th just before that.
He was leading that pack there,
Yeah.
Rashad. My goodness, that's the second time, no caution flag, but the second time our leader of that second pack has had some sort of issue to send him falling through the field, and as you mentioned, it all the way back to the 33rd position, and I'm worried with that blimp. Not only could it not get better as we carry on there, but is he still in touch with his lead draft? That is a big gap. He may have indeed lost the draft right there.
I think he has. It's growing really big. It's now 1.5 seconds, and I think Thornquist there with that blink, has lost the lead draft, and you can just see the pace difference between a car that has it and a car that doesn't. These guys are just moving that little bit quicker through the corners. I think clocked it just heading into turn number 1. It was about a 5 to 6 mile an hour difference for Kendall Noah Player versus Chad Thornquist. So right now, Thornquist already now 3.5 seconds off the lead pack, based off of that, losing the draft there. So he now has to kind of buckle up, hope that a caution comes out before he risks going a lap down.
My goodness. So 2 championship contenders very much in trouble here. All were above the cut line before we started tonight. David Tooker, and Thornquist both having an issue after Daniel Martinez turned the 19, and then the big lag spike out of the 02. No change up front. Josh Robin has been pushed to a pretty nice life. He's had a nice charm life in front of the 40 car of Tyler Foley. There's Scott Crump, our pole sitter. And then the 95, that is Joshua Adams, rounding out in the top 4. You still see a little bit of a blip, though, between the 90 also disappearing.
Ooh. Yeah, 90 having some blinks. Tyler Foley kind of just peeked to the outside there for a moment, but then backs off and kind of settles back in line here. These guys starting to look maybe a little bit racy here as they're trying to peek to the outside of that 8 car, maybe just trying to get air on the grills there. But a little bit more movement, I think, in this lead pack than what we've seen so far today.
Definitely. And again, lap 26 on the board there. We expected, the crazy action. We've gotten that, certainly, but I don't think we necessarily expected the single file action. And it's not like it's been a bad race or anything, but these guys clearly have decided they're more comfortable racing single file than what we're seeing with that double wide action. I think we'll see that perhaps later on when money is on the line. But are you surprised at how calm it is for a Talladega race this early?
A little bit, yeah, I think so. This early on, maybe not. I think we even saw this at Daytona where there were a few moments where guys were kind of settled in. But on that initial start, I was surprised at how, despite the fact that we were 3 wide, how calm things were. Guys were running 3 wide, and we're still fairly comfortable with all of that. And we didn't really see too many close calls. So in that sense, maybe a little bit surprised it wasn't more aggression from these guys. But yeah, once pit road comes, once we maybe see a caution here and guys have to do a restart, maybe that's when things start to pick up here. As we're just getting approaching 1/3 distance here in this race. We're going to kind of, I think, start to see that pick up once we get past the first 1, maybe 2 pit stops here. Not sure exactly what that fuel window looks like, if it's going to be a 1 stop if we stay green the whole way, or if it's going to have to be a 2 stop.
That's also an interesting note there. I do believe before we started this race, these guys will have 3 sets of tires here, but the question is, do you decide to use 4 sets of tires every time you go down pit road there, or do you try and save some time and get back on the racetrack as quick as possible? Perhaps there's only a 2-tire stop, so it'll be interesting to see what these guys decide to take. And also getting onto pit road, that's also something in particular that at Talladega and Daytona can really take our breath away, because you go down from 200 miles an hour to 55 in such a short amount of space. We often say trouble entering pit road, and we see it happen time after time after time, especially here at Talladega.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows, what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, right? You kind of just have to be ready for whatever's coming at you. Yeah, we don't know even up here, right? Like we saw it there with that brief moment of 2 wide that happened in this kind of mid-pack here. Guys just suddenly moved 2 wide. There was a little bit of a checkup. It gave an opportunity, and we saw 2 wide. It quickly fizzled out though. But just as quickly as it fizzled out, like we saw it took out some drivers. So it's all going to depend on opportunity, what shows up for these drivers here. If somebody does have a little bit of an issue, they get too much of a run, they maybe have to check up heading into a corner, that slows down the pack, and everybody's kind of shuffling around a little bit. That's when you start to see that chaos start to ensue. But right now, if guys are controlled, they know what they're doing, and they're not making runs at each other, at least trying to make runs at each other, you're not going to see that, because as long as the distance between each car in this single file is controlled, as you see there a little bit of that motion there with Rucker and Dustin Dewar, as long as they're controlled in terms of that distance, not moving each other out of the way, we're not really going to have a situation like that come up. I don't think guys are going to be able to pull together those runs as easily as we might have seen at Daytona.
I believe you are absolutely correct. As we take a look, some of these guys, it's never just riding around at 200 miles an hour. There's always something ahead of you that you must keep an eye on, including the car that is in front of you if you are single file and not leading this field, that being either the 7 or 11, excuse me, of Matthew Weeks or the 8 of Josh Robin. But these guys very much, you have to kind of control your pace. You can't just swing up and bump the guy in front of you all willy-nilly. There is an art to the draft and how you must pay attention here at Talladega. It is not just bump drafting and flat footing it. These guys are putting in work behind these guys at single file formation.
Yeah, absolutely. They're putting in that work. It's you know, it's not just these guys rolling around at single file speed. It's not just kind of sitting in your car and waiting. You're still having to think a lot about these gaps between guys. You want to be ready to jump out and make a run if that opportunity comes up. So you're kind of on your toes a little bit throughout this process. You can't really rest and think, oh yeah, no, I've got this. Like this is all going to work out here. You've got to start looking at it and thinking more of a of a situation of, you know, if this guy behind me jumps out, am I ready to jump in front of him? Or if the guy in front of me jumps out, am I ready to follow him? Or finding those opportunities. You're kind of, your mind is roaming around right now. You're also thinking right now as we approach, you know, probably lap 35 or 40, you're thinking about pit stops now. Who are you coming down pit road with? Who's going to be your partner there to make sure that you have drafting help when you come down pit road and come off pit road?
My apologies for my dog out there if you hear that. But yes, Dega also wants to know the questions to all these, the answers to these questions you're asking there. Who was named after this racetrack because it is crazy and unpredictable. We see the 11 of Matthew Weeks there. He's getting a great shove from Trey Holmes, and these guys have actually cut down the gap. We're seeing it the closest it has been since basically lap 4 or lap 5. Now down to about 2.5 seconds, and this would be big if that second group could catch that first group before green flag pit stops, because that would mean they're not losing any time to our leaders.
Yeah, that would be really big for these guys, but and it has closed down pretty significantly, as I think there's a little bit of motion. No, I think that might have just been a blink from Scott Crump, but I mean, it's down to 2.5 seconds, 2.3 seconds actually now. Remember, it was as high as 5 seconds as I think we saw maybe 10 or so laps ago. So again, the organization here in this bottom line, more cars on this bottom or on this in this second group, you know, working for these guys and closing in that gap. Can they, you know, do enough here to close in on them, on the leaders before we get to pit stops, or are they going to need pit stops to maybe help them? You know, it's right now looking very good for them. Matthew Weeks leading the way, Trey Holmes supporting him as well. Right now, these guys aggressive in this second pack and working their way forward. 2.2 seconds now after that lap, so maybe about 1/10 of a second a lap, if not a little bit more on those leaders.
Let me tell you, though, the air and how violent it is bouncing around over these race cars, even with iRacing simulation here, you can see that 32 car get way tight behind the 88 car in its wake. I call that push loose here, where the car, if you're not right up under, if it stepped out just a little bit, the car suddenly wants to travel up the racetrack here. He had to fight it hard to keep it in that bottom lane. And that's where we see some of the accidents that happen in the corners at Tallagega Superspeedway, is when somebody can't handle that and the car might drift up. And if it weren't for the fact that they are single file, if there's another car in that lane, which they often are, coming down to the end of this thing, you know, that's when we see a big crash. So keep in mind how these cars handle, especially deep in this run. This is going to be the worst how these cars are going to feel. It's also going to be how the lightest these cars are going to feel. That's all playing a factor into how these guys are really able to maneuver these corners. But man, Matthew Weeks, he can all but taste the back bumper of Chad Frankenfield. That gap now just about 1 second behind the 15 and in front of the 11.
Yeah, I think they've caught the draft here. They've definitely caught the draft. Last lap, half a second faster for Matthew Weeks. There might be a little bit of back markers ahead of our leaders here, but for Weeks and for this second group, you've kind of got this eye of salvation. You can see just how quickly they're closing in on this lead group, and suddenly we're going to have a rejoin Your group of cars here on the racetrack. The question is going to be, does this second group come down pit road like we see a couple of guys doing there? Do they make that overtake? But here we go, perfect timing. Joey Chapman, Bronson Stafford, Shane Terry, and Nick Massey, Tom Bourne, the entire Sky Motorsports crew all comes down pit road there. So no major surprise there. They're making that call. Matthew Weeks, though, now still actually raises up a little bit. 2 seconds now behind those leaders. They got a little bit of help from these laps cars. But yeah, I mean, here, a little bit of disorganization.
Yes. And this is the commotion here. This is what kind of makes you hold your breath as they navigate lap traffic.
Too wide now,
These
up
cars
top.
Obviously very slow. And now Josh Roberts, he's actually lost the lead to Scott Crump. All through that commotion there, he is way up high. That 8 car also, he might have had a problem. I don't know exactly. He's going to try and blend in right behind. But Scott Crump in that 90 car, they have been able to take the lead. And these guys mixed in with the lap cars have now formed a bigger pack than what that second group was, although they are still single file. And I believe Matthew Weeks has been able to run down.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks.
Right behind Josh Robbins, who's now fallen back to about 8 car lengths behind that 8 car.
Yeah, and Scott Crump actually drops down a couple positions. Now it's going to be Frankenfield is going to be your race leader, though, with still 4 lapped cars in front of him, and they're all single-filed now on the bottom. Frankenfield, Fody, Green, Crump, Robin, and then Adams, your top 6. And now here comes that second group. Matthew Weeks to the outside with the support of Trey Holmes, with the support of Dustin Dewar. Now they're going to have some other guys jumping up there. Andrew Rucker up there with them. This is what we're looking for. Just as pit stops are coming around, Matthew Weeks is going for that overall lead.
Yes, and as we see one car almost dive, is that the 84, I believe, he wanted to try and get in front, or excuse me, that was the 15 of Chad Frankenfield in the middle. He'd actually had the lead right there, but he's going to fall back into the clutches of his teammate there and move Matthew Weeks in that 11 car top side on the outside of the 02. And phase 1 is complete. Getting that second pack to join the first one is done. Now he has his sights set on the race. Look at Trey Holmes and Dustin Dewar, in that 32 car, all take from the high side to the low side and take the first 3 positions by storm here on lap 138.
Absolutely, and look who else is part of that group that popped up to the top side. Michael Goodman as well, trying to find his way up the order, trying to grab some positions. Also got to keep an eye out, though, on those cars that just went a lap down. Right now, your lucky dog car is going to be Chad Thurnquist in that 02. But he's got Robert Hill, Mark Keeler right behind him, ready to pounce. So, again, in the event of a caution, one of those guys right now is going to be in that lucky dog position, get that free pass to get back onto the lead lap. And if you're Thurnquist, you've got to start defending that like crazy, because that's your opportunity to stay in this race. But for Matthew Weeks, Trey Holmes, Dustin Dewar now, Andrew Rucker as well, all of those guys cleared from those top drivers. They're kind of separated here and can now start to work a little bit of ways. Johnny Thomas is your next lead lap driver, and there's a big group of lap cars in front of him.
Yes. And we see more cars now start to go down pit road here. There are going to be some speeding penalties, I believe. My goodness, the 32 really hot, and I don't know who that was just in front. Those guys were extremely hot getting on, and hopefully the 02 does not get a penalty, because that would tank his entire day.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate there for sure for Chad Thurnquist. But yeah, a lot of drivers here. Matthew Weeks, Chad Frankenfield, Michael Goodman, Andrew Rucker, some of our chase drivers on pit road this time by. That gives the lead over to Johnny Thomas, Vincent Isabella in second place there, Ryan Schold in third, with Scott Crump also staying out, Tyler Fody, Jeff Green as well out there on the racetrack right now. So expect all these guys to come down pit road. We'll see, though, with this second group, where do they peel out relative to the likes of Josh Adams, Josh Robin, who are just coming through the tri-oval right now? What about those guys at Sky Motorsports, who are a little bit further behind, but all kind of joined together in that group of 4 cars? This is going to be interesting to see how we all blend back together. But there's that last car in this group. I think we're going to see Adams and Robin slide past all of these guys who just came down pit road.
That'll be a good feeling there. They won't hang on to that lead, but at least they'll be able to be in front of that big pack. As you mentioned, the Sky Motorsports cars all pitting early, but they were all outside of that big pack once it joined. They were the first ones on it, and that big pack, no matter what those 5 cars did getting on pit road early, they were not going to be as fast as what we saw with that pack lapping the competition there. So we're going to see Sky Motorsports actually have to do some work there as more cars join up in front of them. And that's why we're seeing that gap between the 95 and the 8. Right now, Johnny Thomas, though, is still leading in front of Vincent Isabella and Jared Rexing. And I'm interested to see this as, oh, now those guys have made their pit stop, and they are on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, so here we go. This is going to be the blend. Let's see, watch the top of the racetrack, see if we see any of those other guys start to come out here. But right now it's going to be Thomas, Isabella, Rexing up front. Then you've got Crump, Foley, Schuld, then Frankenfield and Rucker. And here's the run that they've got. Here's the momentum that they have versus these guys coming off of pit road. They actually decide to slot in on the bottom. Interesting call there. Instead of using up that momentum to try and get past the 06 car, they're going to slide in place there. So kind of positions lost a little bit there for Frankenfield and Rucker. Down in 6th and 7th. Johnny Thomas, the biggest winner out of this one, comes out on top, is going to be your leader off of pit cycle as well, with Vincent Isabella right behind him, Jared Rexing. All those guys had a great time there on and off of pit road, as right now they cycle by Kendall Noah Player.
Yes, and Kendall Noah Player going to go a lap down. That's important to note as we get our first batch of green flag pit stops complete here at Talladega Superspeedway. The battle for the lucky dog is going to happen between, I believe, the 94 and the 02. The 02 is in desperate mode. Looks like he was able to get onto pit road without penalty. I want to state that as well. I was worried about him going down pit road very fast. He looks like he was able to get that through. But now we do have a second pack there. That Sky Motorsports cars, they were not able to really blend in with that first pack. I mean, they're not that far behind, but the gap is about 1 second, and I attribute that to actually pitting early there, Rasov. Because they pitted early, they did not have the numbers in their favor. Excuse me. And that's why they are now a second back.
Yeah, for sure. You know, a little bit of a smaller group there pitting, and maybe just a little bit slow coming off of pit road or heading on to pit road, a little bit safe. But right now, I mean, this is kind of what I was saying earlier in the show, though. You know all the guys you're racing around. You know they're going to be reasonable with you. They're going to race you fairly, and you've got these 5 drivers here all working together, and you know, they've all raced well together with each other. You got Tate Lytle right behind them, Harrison Talon. Both of them are very fair super speedway drivers. So you've got a little bit of comfort here in the driving here, and they're not too far back. 1.2 seconds right now. If they can get a little bit stronger push there from Joey Chapman to Bronson Stafford, they can probably catch Michael Goodman up here and catch back up to this lead pack. It's not too far out of the way, and they'll kind of still be in it, you know, as we're running lap 44 here of 94 right now.
Yeah, there's actually quite the mixture of lap cars now mixed in with this lead pack there. Only about 10 cars are in the lead, on the lead lap there. As we take a look and see that outside line, trying to see more takers. That's Daniel Martinez in the 33. Now he is behind the 90 Scott Crump. They are on the outside of Jared Rexing, and this battle is now taking it all the way to the top of the field. We see Scott Crump actually going to take the lead away on the outside. He gets around Johnny Thomas, but now the 90 car swings back down low. He'll pick up the inside line. He'll leave up the outside, and here comes Daniel Martinez in the 33. Help from Joshua Clark. He'll lead his first lap of the day.
Yeah, Martinez with that lap lead. That's awesome for him to have that opportunity. Josh Clark just behind him, one of our chasers. He'd love to grab that lap lead point if he can. At least one of those to grab that bonus point. Then, of course, Josh Adams, again, another one of those chasers, very close to the cut line. And that outside line coming into its own. Look at this from Vincent Isabella on his own on the middle with a bit of a run before he starts to get sucked back in there. But impressive initial run there. He's going to need some help from Tyler Foley, though, to make this middle lane work. But now with those guys squeezing in front of them for Isabella, Foley, and Frankenfield, they're going to need to find their way back past those guys on the bottom lane or back past those guys on the top lane, or at least just settle into some kind of groove. Scott Crump, though, slides in front, and he's going to try and lead this middle group, too.
Yes, the front 5 are single file top side there. Still Daniel Martinez is Vincent Isabella. He'll bust out of the inside pocket. He'll take to the inside lane, but Scott Crump is going to be able to clear him. And now more cars are visiting downstairs. Here comes Joshua Clark and the 28. Or in the 28, excuse me, along with the 33 of Daniel Martinez, and this side-by-side promotion has allowed that second pack to join back up. And now it's going to be one big happy pack, the biggest we've seen since the start of the green flag. A little bit more lap cars running into the mix, but take a look There is the 38 and the 64, Andrew Rucker, doing a great job. And the 61 has been able, he was leading that second pack. They have now been able to catch back up. And now we are about 25 cars in this lead draft currently.
Yeah, for sure. It's now just one big pack and a little bit of chaos as well involved in this one. I mean, just look at this front group right now, 2 by 2 for the first 4 to 5 rows here, and a couple of 3 wide as well. So guys starting to get that little bit more racy as well. So Scott Crump on the outside, Daniel Martinez on the inside. We'll see who kind of has that better support. Really interesting to see how this plays out. You got 3 of those Do Good Motorsports cars all in the line there as well, with the 32, the 44, and the 38. So look out for them. This is one of the best runnings and showings we've seen from Do Good Motorsports on a super speedway in a little while. So yeah, right now anybody with a real shot in this race, and we're seeing a lot of movement up front. Dustin Dewar looking to the outside now with Crump and Isabella on that bottom lane. Dewar with the support of Goodman. Look at that. Top 3 cars on that outside lane now, Do Good Motorsports.
Yes, and take a look at the 44, Michael Goodman. He is the only car that comes in here perhaps in a must-win situation there. He's going to tag along to the bumper, and he'll be all the way to second place in that 44 car. So much bad luck has followed that 44 car of Michael Goodman this season. He still has a shot, somehow, of trying to make it into a round of 9, and it would be nothing more short of miraculous if that 44 car could get it done here today and shake up this playoff picture that saw him on the outside looking in currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Goodman, one of the most popular figures within the field, with a shot to grab the lead here. Keep an eye out on him, though. Again, long way to go in this race, but again, when you surround yourself with teammates, guys that you trust on these racetracks, it helps that situation all that much more. You know, if you do all the right things, they will take care of you too. And surely the rest of the Do Good Motorsports guys have gotten that memo as well, as, hey, Michael is in the chase. He's got a chance here if he can win this race. Let's all work together and get behind this 44 car, make sure that he advances as well. But right now, moving a little bit backwards as they're kind of getting sucked up in that sucker hole on the middle lane. Have to pick either top or bottom there pretty quickly now with Josh Adams sliding to the outside of Jeff Green. They're kind of stuck now in the middle.
Yeah, they didn't get the energy or the organization they really needed to contend with the 15 of Chad Frankenfield, who had sliced his way to the bottom of the racetrack there. Now the 44, he's going to bail out, and they'll go to the inside line, and suddenly you don't want to be the last car in that party. We've seen what can happen if you're suddenly one car on the outside lane and everything builds up on the bottom side. You'll be going to the tail end of this field. You also don't want to be the guy that loses the draft, and these guys side by side, and we're starting to see some single file formation. They've already put half a second in between the front 6 or 7 cars or so and the 44 Michael Goodman there. So these guys kind of in desperate mode, working lap 15, need to make sure they do not lose the draft here. It took them about 45 laps for them to be one giant pack again. You cannot afford to have that early or later on in this race, because the race will be over.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy how quickly, though, this separation can happen between the guys who are organized and the guys who aren't. I feel like it's more so than what we've seen in the past. Normally, even if you run side by side, like, yes, you slow down, but I don't think it's been this powerful, that effect of being organized, at a track like this. So even at Daytona, I don't think we saw it. A little bit of a close call there for Tate Lytle and Harrison Talon on the bottom lane there, but man, right now, now we've got this 2x2 again, just a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if these guys stay organized on the top, as very close there between Scott Crump and Vincent Isabella on the bottom.
Yes. And all of that, him letting off the 12 car, doing a great job, recognizing that he needed to lay off, the 90 car was there, but it stalled out all the momentum on that inside lane. And now take a look at Michael Goodman. He's once again fighting hard in that outside lane. He's up to 4th place with teammates right behind him.
Yeah, and he's now the guy leading that outside lane, so a little bit maybe of a different story here for these guys. It's going to be all push from Dustin Dewar, all push from Jeff Green. Hopefully for these guys on that top line. We'll see what they can do. They are starting to contend now with Chad Frankenfield, and officially across the line that time by it was Michael Goodman who held the lead position. Now he's got an option. Does he go down in front of Chad Frankenfield? Does he stay with his teammate? Where does he kind of plan to be right now? Decides to stay up top, stays with teammate Dustin Dewar, but again, has that option now heading to turn 3, and that's a comfortable place to be in. You can choose to block off those fast guys on the bottom, or you can choose to stay with those guys who have pushed you all the way to the lead. And Dewar can even follow him now as well. They might even be waiting to get Jeff Green through with them. They might not even through there either, though, because there you go. Goodman goes to the bottom. Dewar and Green stay up top.
Yes, I think Goodman's trying. He was in a good position there to try and at least control. Why not be able, as teammates, control both lanes? He got to the bottom there. The 15, don't know if he's necessarily happy just riding along, pushing another championship contender there. But for right now, he'll have to do exactly just that. Now the 44 car has to look to the outside. He'll see the 38 of Jeff Green. In the 32, Dustin Dewar doing a great job. He led that lap. Do Good Motorsports doing excellent right now. They occupy the front 3 positions here. Lap 53 on the board. How about that 32 car?
Yeah, really impressive there. Dustin Dewar has won a Super Speedway race before in the Truck Series, looking to do so in the Cup Series to grab his first ever Cup Series win. Again, long way to go in this one, but these guys have looked strong all night long. Remember, he qualified up inside the top 10 as well, has had pace in that car all night long. Kind of just got stuck in that second pack a little bit. But once they rejoin this lead pack, they've been decisive in their moves. They've been smart in their moves, and right now doing a fantastic job. Chad Frankenfield looks below that yellow line, has to kind of slow himself up, get back behind Michael Goodman on the bottom lane. But yeah, right now, if you're a Do Good Motorsports fan, this is an incredible opportunity that these guys have in front of them. Right now, first, second, and fourth now with Daniel Martinez occupying that third spot. Tyler Foley, I think, might have even grabbed fourth there as well. But still occupying the lead positions on each of those lines. This is a big moment for these guys.
But now Daniel Martinez trying to bust up those teammates. He'll do so by getting to the inside of the 32, and he'll be pushed by the 40 car and move Martinez back to the point there as we continue to see a lot of blinking out of the 90 of Scott Crump. He took my eye that entire last lap. He's still doing it right now currently, and let me tell you, that is something to make you uncomfortable, especially when they are too wide at the front of the field.
Yeah, this is great racing here, and this is kind of what we expected coming into this one. Not as much what happened on that first stint. Much more aggression here from these guys. A little bit of a wobble from Jeff Green, who was pushing Dustin Dewar through the corner there. And look at that run they've gotten on the back straightaway because of that, that linking up between those two. So good communication amongst teammates, and now they have to split. So Dewar takes over that bottom lane. Jeff Green stays on that top lane as Scott Crump tried to take a run up top. And a little bit of a checkup on the bottom. They stay together for now, but that could have ended very, very quickly for a lot of these drivers.
Yes, it got hairy in a almost disastrous way there between the 90 and the 40 car. As we see, I believe Chad Frankenfield, actually, he's going to fall all the way back behind that to make sure that was not a bigger issue there. Really heads-up driving. Things got stacked up on that inside line there, and there was really nowhere to go. That 90 car, though, I'm telling you, still blinking like that. He's there 1 second, he's gone the next. He's up to second place, though, behind Jeff Green in that 38.
Absolutely. Oh, man, I don't like that. When he jumps out for a move and you get that blink, I'm sure the drivers who are racing, if they're seeing this like we are up here, they're going to be talking about that as well. To Race Control mentioning that if that 90 car becomes a problem, they will tell him to pull over. This is not the first time we've seen it for Scott Crump. It's not going to be the first time we've seen him, asked to stop his car either if it does escalate to that. But right now it seems to be intermittent enough where it's not as much of a concern. He does drop down the order now, but second in lane on that bottom lane. But you just have to be careful, especially with the close quarters racing that we have going on here. You just have to be really careful around these guys. And now we've got some lap cars in the picture as well, so this is where things get interesting here too. You've got Thornquist as well as Kendall Noah Player in there. The 29 car of Trevor Elam, is there for position. Tate Lytle now, as crazy as this to say, is your overall race leader. But yeah.
That looked to be almost 4 wide right there as the 0-2 got to the inside. A 2 car tried to almost get a BOGO sale, 2 for 1. The 0-2, though, not on the lead lap. He must race amongst the leaders, though, in order to make sure, as we see, more blinking out of that 0-2. And he's right next to the 90th Scott Crump.
Yeah,
I don't. Could be the invisible big one between these two cars.
I don't see Chad Thornquist on the map anymore. And there he is. That's another big blink from the O2 car, and he's going to lose the draft again. So the bad day just gets worse, and mechanical, technical issues hurting Chad Thornquist's chance there at a strong result. Still sits, I believe. No, he's no longer that lucky dog car either. So a bad night goes worse for Chad Thornquist in the O2 car. Again, going to need a bit of a miracle, I think, to get back in this one based off of where he was in the chase picture heading into this. So you look back up front, and you've got Josh Adams, who's one of your chasers, leading the way. Johnny Thomas second, Ryan Scholden third, putting on one of his best runs of the season. Jeff Green up there as well. Tate Lytle right now sitting inside the top 5. We'll see how quickly or how long he can stay up there, I suppose, with that 4 wide heading through the tri-oval.
Wow. You know, this is something we've not seen this season, and here's something else that we've not seen this season at all there, Rashav. Are you ready? The first over 100 miles of this race have been under the green flag.
Yeah, it's been impressive so far. Guys have been very well behaved. It is funny, you know, the Elite Racing Leagues always crack me up in terms of how some of our races go. Oh, as you say that, Ryan Schuld get a little bit of a bump to the bottom, but yeah, I mean, we struggle more on our short tracks than we do at super speedways. These guys are incredible in terms of racing each other cleanly and smartly on super speedway racetracks. A lot of the times we get these green flag type races. We'll have a couple of big ones throughout the races, maybe, but I mean, we've had these races go totally green sometimes, and it would not surprise me if this is another one of those instances.
Up front, Joshua Adams in front of Johnny Thomas, doing a great job so far. Johnny Thomas, who was the pole sitter there, that 91, looking for his first win since Daytona of 2021, Season A. And that outside line really beginning to take form. It's about 7-8 cars deep. The first car on the inside line, as they check up just a little bit between the 94 and the 32, is going to be Vincent Isabella in that 12 car. He came in here below the cut line with a tiebreaker given to the O2 of Thornquist. However, with Thornquist problems there, and also with the problems of David Tooker, and I want to keep an eye, I don't believe David Tooker is still in the race.
No, I think he's out of it, and he is. That car is not running on the racetrack anymore. So for David Tooker, you're also looking at this situation thinking, oh man, he's out of this right now, isn't he? Just a quick napkin math right now. Has Tooker still in the good? Actually, no, not quite. I got to take another quick look at this. This is where things get a little bit crazy in terms of calculating points. So I will let you guys know what pops up here. But Tooker, I think, is very close to being out of this one. It might just be tied on the cut line. Last time I did my napkin math, but I think a few positions have changed since then as well.
Well, that's going to be unfortunate for the 19, but not all is said and done. We could still see a big one break out and disrupt half this field. It's been known to break hearts here at Talladega right up until the checkered flag. Nothing is ever set in stone once we go racing here. How about this? That 12 car who I was just talking about leading that charge on the inside line, he's there. And moved Vincent Isabella all the way up to the point. He did lead that lap. That means he'll be to the good for breaking that tiebreaker over the O2. But can he hang on to the lead? And we're getting close to about 30 to go. We will have another pit stop that will have to be made.
Yeah, for sure. We will have another pit stop. I think these guys will have to make relatively soon, too. I mean, you think about those Sky Motorsports guys when they came down pit road. I think it was about lap 37, 30, actually 35 even for those guys. So maybe look at lap 70 for that move to kind of take place, potentially even earlier if they want to short pit that final stint. So again, just something to keep an eye out for right now. But yeah,
I worry about that strategy there because they were able to pit early. They're going to need to be in. That means they're going to have to be in there longer on fuel, but they're also going to be in there by themselves, and that's going to be less cars in a draft versus this big pack. They are still going to be losing time even once their service is complete.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be something they've got to keep an eye out for. Yeah,
Why it's never easy calling one of these, make your own crew chief and everything. You know, it sounds good on paper, like, hey, let's all make sure we pit, but you have to recognize that you 5 cars, even all teammates, are going to be much slower than the pack. You don't want to have your strategy outdo yourselves and put you in harm's way because of having such a good strategy. It's the same as pit by yourself here, how it seems good on paper, not necessarily in practice.
Yeah, not necessarily in practice. It's, yeah, you've got to be just so careful. Again, we've talked about entering pit road, how sketchy that can be as well, how many mistakes can take place when that happens. So, yeah, guys just have to be cautious and be aware of what's going on around them.
We are on pace to have perhaps one of the quickest races we have ever had on a Wednesday night. I don't want to talk away from the action, but I do believe because we've not had a yellow flag, we're going to have to do this under green. So, Rasav, if you will, perhaps before things get good, go ahead and give us our sponsor reads here for tonight there. We would not be able to put on this race without our great partners.
Absolutely, we would not, and want to shout out, of course, our premier sponsors, but first and foremost, so we'll start with C2 Freight Resources. As I'm sure you guys already know, they offer freight management services and are ready to meet your needs today, as well as your changing needs in the future. With thousands of qualified carriers in their database, they're capable of handling shipping for every type of good, from perishable foods all the way to office equipment. They also offer their electronic data interchange services, which allow shippers to keep close electronic tabs on their shipment throughout the entire freight movement process. Also want to thank Blue Egg Marketing. Blue Egg Marketing is the marketing department for small businesses. If you're a small business owner, then Blue Egg Marketing is your absolute biggest fan. Whatever your constraints are, they help catalyze creativity, and they'll help your business punch above their weight class. Finally, want to thank Powerhouse Recycling, our third premier sponsor this season. Powerhouse strives to offer the highest level of customer service in the industry for each load process time and time again. Attainable account representatives, prompt and on-time pickups, and customized recycling solutions keep Powerhouse Recycling as a North Carolina market leader in customer service. Massive shout out to those premier sponsors, and of course want to shout out NASCARRPG, our race sponsor for tonight here at the NASCARRPG 250. It's a spreadsheet-based team manager simulation. It's multiplayer only, and the game mechanics are all done on a Google Sheet. All user actions take place in a Discord server, and everything is done manually with the exception of race weekends themselves. They're done using random weighted number generators as opposed to any video games. If you ever want to simulate running a NASCAR team, then this is for you. Check out NASCARRPG, a great way to simulate being a NASCAR team manager. Great, massive thanks for them to supporting this race here tonight.
My goodness, Harry, can you put each one of these cars in one of those cell suits? That's how they look there as they're running at 200 miles an hour. We saw during that read there, saw that outside lane begin to work with 2 cars. We saw the 94 and the 8 car make up some headway there. They've actually fizzled out right now. And Kendall Loebler, he's one of those cars that's actually a lap down, but John Robin, he was the early leader. In fact, he might still have the most laps led before that green flag pit stop. But yeah, 2 cars in that outside line, they made up some time, and that's important to note, especially as we get to the end of this one. And pit stops are about to be made.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you can get that kind of tandem draft working, as there's a big run there on the outside. Who was that making those moves up the racetrack? I think that's the 88 car, I think, of Trey Holmes, who's down a lap from our leaders. But I mean, just made a big run to that in that 3rd lane. He's going to kind of run out of that momentum, hoping to kind of slot in there, maybe behind Trevor Elam. I think he will. But here we go, guys, making lanes right now, trying to find a position to be in, and that top lane starting to come together. And yeah, let's see how organized these guys get, because they're all going to have to shift to the bottom of the racetrack too relatively soon with pit stops coming up.
And Johnny Thomas doing a great job leading the charge right now, currently in front of the 11 of Matthew Weeks. And how about that 29 car, Trevor Elam, who was oh so close a couple of races ago, still in search of what would be his first win in the Elite Racing League. Doing a great job with that 29 car, and I'm liking that paint scheme as well, running that Navy primary sponsor on that 29 there, and has a look from the 88 car behind him.
Yeah, it's a good-looking race car there for Trevor Elam, and the one you want to watch out for, I guess, when you're watching that 29 car is where is the 15 car on the racetrack. And right now, they're about as far away as they can be from each other inside this lead pack. But if it comes down to those two, you can absolutely bet that 29 car is expecting to return the favor for what happened between those two at Rockingham. If you don't know what happened or you missed that race, go check out that broadcast. Check out the end of that one because Trevor Elam, fighting for the lead, got caught up with that 15 car, and certainly no love lost there between those two drivers.
Well, Rasab, look at the lap counter. It's ticked down, and you know what that means. We have to pick a driver who we think, and that should be easy at Talladega, right?
Oh, yeah, this is the easiest track to call a winner at, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. It's been very much one-sided all night long.
Yeah, I can't think of, I can't even think of two different drivers. Like, I'm going to pick a guy. There's no other options out there for you. So I feel sorry for you since I'm picking first here tonight, I think. Man, I have no idea here. It's utter chaos right now on the racetrack. I mean, part of me wants to again look at an obvious option, but maybe I might dig a little bit deeper into the pack here. And I say dig into, maybe go for a not as obvious option, but I am going to pick a pretty obvious option. If you follow the Superspeedway races this year, like I talked about earlier, all of them have been won so far by a Sky Motorsports driver. The third different Sky Motorsports driver will win tonight. I'm going to say that's the 61 car of Bronson Stafford.
Ooh, all right. We'll keep that in mind there, perhaps, but I don't believe it's going to be a Sky Motorsports car. I believe they're going to shoot themselves a little bit in the foot if we don't see a yellow flag if they decide to pit early, as we see the 40 car, Tyler Foley, jump to the outside, and that might be my pick, that 40 car right there. Mr. Consistency himself. He has been oh so close every racetrack we have been to, and tonight looks no further. I mean, every time I talk about him being consistent, he's literally inside the top 3, and that's his running position right now. So look for that 40 car. I think he's able to bust through. He'll grab his first win of the season, and it might be the one that, really propels him, to championship contender form and gets him ready for that championship 4. So look for that 40 car who's now on the outside, about to lead the thing.
Yeah, Tyler Foley has had just a crazy season without being able to put down a win just yet. Has just 2 finishes outside of the top 5, which is just ridiculous to think about. 3 finishes outside of the top 10. He had a 7th.
That was a terrible day for that team.
Yeah,
I remember that.
It was a rough day. I'm sure he went home disappointed. I mean, this car has been just stupid good all season. There's a reason he's by leading, I think, the laps that he's leading here right now, has just locked himself into that next round of the chase. So yeah, I mean, to grab a win for that 40 car would be huge, of course. But the way he's raced so far this season, if he comes home 2nd or 3rd, would not surprise me either. That car is just always there. And looking at these results all back-to-back with each other, just, I mean, it's crazy for me to look at and just realize just what a season this 40 car has had.
You are currently watching the fastest race of the season, and I mean that both literally as far as the racetrack here at 200 miles an hour, and both time-wise as well here as we continue to run down, very much on pace to break the under 1.5 hour mark for the season here, doing an excellent job keeping it clean and green. We still have a pit stop to be made, and I don't know. My next question to you is, will we see a yellow flag?
Man, I mean, part of me wants to say absolutely, right? It's Talladega. These guys are going side by side now. The intensity is going to pick up. You've got to imagine that, yeah, of course we're going to have a yellow flag, but they've also raced each other so incredibly well so far today that, I don't know. I mean, I could see us going green all the way to the end with 21 laps to go. We've made it this far. We do have that 1 round of pit stops left, and potentially we see something happening there with guys maybe spinning around, entering pit road, or just that gap between drivers on and off of pit road. I'm gonna say no cautions tonight. I think we can make it all the way through without having a caution.
The last NASCAR Cup Series race to go caution-free. You have to go all the way back to the year 2000. At this racetrack there. Bonus points if you know who won that race there, Rashad.
Oh boy, 2000 Talladega.
2002.
2002. Okay. I mean, it's got to be Junior, no?
Yes.
Okay.
It
I was going to say,
Dale Earnhardt.
Talladega, early 2000s, like, didn't Junior win every race there?
Yeah, well, that was the beginning of his 4 wins in a row.
Okay.
That happened there within the EA Sports 200 that saw him grab that win. But yeah, that was the last caution-free race. Now, they did not have an issue. In fact, they actually, as we see some of those Sky Motorsport cars go down pit road there, I believe I saw the 61. Is that your pick on pit road?
Yep. Here they come.
Yes. Here they come, and I'm just worried about them. The only car that's not with them is Nick Massey in that 48 car. And that's actually going to hurt them because now their cars they're going to be fewer of them on that field.
Yeah, Nick Massey way down the order right now. He's not kind of part of that same group there, so we'll take a look. But yeah, here we go. Stafford, Chapman, Terry, and Bourne, all on pit road.
The good news is, if a caution flag does come out, they'll have completed their service. They will not go a lap down. This track very much big enough for that. Don't know if they took 4 tires and fuel there, or if they decided to play some strategy, which I do believe with these guys that are still currently on the racetrack. That's another thing that early pit stop opened them up for, is the fact that they had to take more fuel. Some of these guys we saw go all the way up to lap 42. If they decide to do a splash of fuel only, they're going to be way up the road versus those Sky Motorsport cars. So again, just a strategy. You have to play the strategy of what you're seeing there, I guess, from your cockpit view. But putting on the crew chief hat, that's something that could really, really have hurt them. And they shot themselves in the foot early on by just going in early due to the fact that we've gone green this entire run.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be interesting for them. I think with 18 to go, they could have short pitted a little bit. But with that being a 12.5-second pit stop, it looks like they were just about where they needed to be. Here we go, though. Cars coming off pit road here, 12.6, 12.6, 12.0. Looks like all of these guys, basically, at least so far who have pitted, all making that same pit strategy call to maybe short fuel slightly. But right now, it looks like it is 4 tires and fuel for everybody coming down pit road.
These are the 61. Stafford is doing the leading, and he has to be in full total control of this field. I don't think you can afford to have anybody get up under you there or switch position there. You must be the one to lead this charge there in order to minimize any loss of time on the racetrack. Those teammates are hooked up nose to tail, but again, 4 cars versus the field, which currently still has about 18 cars in that pit. We see now the 40 and the 8th of Josh Robin. Service is complete for those cars. So pit road is definitely going to be a busy place here. My question remains, though, do some of these guys that we see hang on in that lead pack take less fuel and make a faster pit stop because of it?
Yeah, that certainly could be the call here. And let's take a look if we see the Tyler Foley. He did take 2 tires, so that's big. Tyler Foley, Josh Robin, Andrew Rucker, Josh Clark, Harrison Talon, all taking 2 tires there on that last pit stop. So there's the first strategy call, change in strategy that we've seen. Tate Lytle, Vincent Isabella, Ryan Schultz on pit road right now. We'll see what their call is as well. Looks like Lytle and Isabella both taking 2 tires as well. Schultz taking 4. So now we're starting to see that little bit of a shift here. So for Stafford, he joins Johnny Thomas and Josh Adams. So right there, thereabouts at least. But then you look a little bit further ahead, Tyler Foley way up the racetrack. That's what that 2-tire stop did for him. It's given him that track position just a little ways up the road.
Now, the good news for them is the fact that they are in front of this call, and so they have the track position. The bad news is not more people win on that strategy, and so you see numbers are continuing to build around the Sky Motorsport cars, and they'll eventually be able to catch back up to the 8 and the 40. However, I like this call right now, be able to protect yourself and ensure that you're not in trouble or put yourself in harm's way. That strategy got them in and out of pit road by themselves. Now they can blend in, hopefully successfully, with the rest of the field and still have a shot.
Yeah, for sure. And meanwhile, a little bit even further up the field here, this is the second to last group to come down. You still have Alec Balvans, Jared Rexing out on the racetrack together, but Scott Crump, Chad Frankenfield, Trevor Elam, oh boy, those 2 together on the racetrack. Jeff Green, Dustin Doerr, Michael Goodman. There's your 3 Do Good Motorsports cars all next to each other there as well. Question is, here's this now group from Tate Lytle, Tyler Foley. Where do these guys blend in? Here you go. Tyler Foley connects with Vincent Isabella. This is the difference in pace that we were talking about that could lead to issues, but now they settle in together on the racetrack. We'll see if they can catch up to those leaders, though. Scott Crump will be your effective race leader, and he's some ways up the road as well after that pit cycle.
They will indeed be engulfed by the pack, but my goodness, that was a big block and a big chance that the 12 car Vincent Isabella did in allowing that 40 car to get to his back bumper, and not just get to him, but shove him up to speed there on the back stretch.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
See our last car leaders underneath the yellow line. That's Alec Balvance and Jared Rexing to the inside. Now we got a shootout on our hands there, Rishav. Now we're going to see these guys put themselves in a position to try and win this thing here. Everything is done on pit road. They have made their last stop here. This is for the checkered flag.
I changed my guess. I think we're going to have a caution before the end of this race. What's the saying here? You can't have two 90 Motorsports cars inside the top 5? Well, you got Scott Crump and Chad Frankenfield 1-2 right now. Something's going to happen. I'm sure of it.
Yes, especially because just behind that 15 is that 29 car.
Yeah, absolutely there. Trevor Elam just behind here. I mean, if yeah, exactly. If you've been following this since Rockingham, you're up on the edge of your seat right now, just as we are, and curious to see how this plays out between these guys. Because ultimately, I don't know how if Trevor's still remembering what happened in Rockingham, but he's got to realize as well that Chad Frankenfield's entire chase hopes right now sit in the hands of that 29 car, I think.
Yeah, and I think that obviously memories of these drivers, they have very long memories. They're longer than I think Mike Joy famously said on broadcast. But these guys, right now, they're living a charmed life, but I don't believe they're going to enjoy that for very long. That backpack, I believe, will begin to inhale them. However, they are about 4 seconds up the road.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive how much this is stretched out here. You've got this pack, Balvans and Rexing kind of picking up now the Tate Lytle-led group of these next few cars here. Before I think you've got some of those Sky Motorsports guys in this group as well, but they're much more separated now. But these guys all sitting about 3 seconds behind Jeff Green, who's kind of the last car in this top 4 group. So right now, I mean, again, without a caution, it's going to be tough to close that gap in 12 laps. They're going to need, again, just some disorganization from this lead group or something to happen here. But these guys right now all sitting single file, not really trying to make moves on each other. So it's going to be tough for that second group to catch up.
Yeah, currently I would say these guys up front do their best to try and make sure that the win comes from these front 4. How about that? Scott Crump, Chad Frankenfield, Trevor Elam, and Jeff Green. All these guys still in search of their first win of the season.
Yeah, crazy to think about, but that's Talladega, right? It gives opportunities to guys who have maybe been close before, or haven't quite had the opportunity pop up. It provides those for everybody in the field. I think everybody steps into Talladega with an equal shot at winning it, which is I think what makes these races so endearing. Everybody has that kind of opportunity, and then of course as the race goes on, you start to see favorites appear and stronger drivers, stronger cars appear, but when that green flag waves, anybody realistically has a shot.
So we're getting the 10 laps to go here in the NASCAR RPG 250. If you're just now joining us, 38 cars were on the schedule. 37 cars are still on the track. The only car out of the race would be the, My goodness, we have a big story. Tyler Foley in the 40 has actually blinked out. That was my pick. So he's actually done. Thankfully, I believe he is safe.
Yeah, I think so as well.
He'll lose a ton of spots. But he came out here with the lap led about 40 points above the cut line there with only 38 cars on the field, plus that bonus point there. He should be in good hands, but my goodness, don't know exactly what happened to Tyler Foley there to make that happen.
Yeah, says he entered pit road here just a few laps ago. Can maybe take a look and see, as there's not a ton going on the racetrack here. Grab a quick look at the Whiskey Cast replay. Looks like maybe a little bit of damage to that 40 car that we missed as it was further back in the pack. See if we can spot it and see what on earth actually happened here. Looks like there was a little bit of an incident. Again, no cautions waived when this all happened, but here you go. 32 car coming off of, oh, this was that incident that we saw maybe with them all merging back on the racetrack. 40 car hits that outside wall there, hits the 32, the 12 car with a little bit of damage there too, and the 40 car then decides to park it after all that.
So that is crazy. We did not catch that. So that also broke up the momentum of that second pack because they were right up front, and that's why the run has really stalled out. They are, Tate Lytle leads, and he is about 4.2 seconds behind fourth place, which is Jeff Green.
Yeah, wow, that is a very big gap now between these groups here. So, yeah, let's go back. I mean, Tate Lytle right now not at any risk of I mean, or they're not double file or anything like that. They're single filed out. They're just losing time to this lead group.
They have 8 laps, make it 7 next time by, to try and catch that back up. Now, my question is, when does the 29 and the 38, when do they decide to make a move? Because you do have 2 teammates up front. You know that they're not going to be racing amongst themselves. So I believe it's up to that 29 to try and get a shove from the 38 car to tell them when to go.
Yeah, that is kind of the question here is when you decide to pick it up, when you've got the 2 teammates up front, Scott Crump, Chad Frankenfield. We know those 2 will race each other. Don't know if there'll be any real teamwork there amongst them in terms of settling one driver to pick up the win here. But then you've also got Elam and Green, who are a little bit of wild cards in that sense, where they're both individually, part of separate organizations. So what do they do? What move do they take? Do they decide to work a little bit together right now to get past the 90 Motorsports cars and grab? Excuse me, I keep saying 90 Motorsports, White Lightning cars, and so yeah, what is that call, and when does that take place? Around a track like this could be as late as the final lap here. Heading off of turn number 2 is when you really go for that initial run. So it could take a little bit of time here before we even see any moves start to appear.
Tate Lytle, who was leading that field, that second pack has dropped back to 9th place there. It's now being led by Alec Balvans in that 5 car. But the gap now just about 4 seconds. It increased just a little bit, but these guys have got to start being in desperate mode. They've got to do something, as well as that 29, that 38. I believe they've got to be in conjunction with one another and start to plan what moves they want to get around this 15 and that 90, because I believe it can be done. We've seen 2 cars work really nose to tail once they link up. They have some short-term speed, but it's enough to get around 2 cars like the 15 and the 90. So if the 29 times this right, he can try and get around, but he needs every bit of help from that 38 car with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, he absolutely is going to need to. And right now, these guys are totally on their own, still 4 seconds back to Alec Balvans, who now leads that second group there. A little bit of peak there from Jeff Green, most likely, again, just getting air on the front grille there. But all these guys, as it stands, just happy to sit still, kind of let this play out before making a move. And I'm sure they're thinking about what they're going to do. I don't know if Jeff Green and Trevor Elam can communicate with each other without informing, of course, Scott Crump and Chad Frankenfield to maybe plan some kind of move there. Of course, you've also got, maybe doesn't matter as much here in the Elite Racing Leagues, but 2 different manufacturers as well. You got the 2 Fords, the 2 Chevys. Do those Chevys decide to link up? That's all that kind of stuff we got to watch out for.
I would definitely expect that if there's somebody behind me and we're both the same manufacturer, please, go with me. That's kind of the unwritten rule, even though it is virtually here about how if you're a Chevy, you're going to link up with other Chevys. If you're a Ford, you're going to link up with other Fords. Now, these guys just ahead of the leaders, some lap traffic. Do they play a factor in where these guys decide to go? Because I do believe that 90 car is going to have to contend with some lap traffic here when it comes to it. I don't know if those guys will necessarily just pull over. They're still very much running their race. You hope they do pull over, but wow, as we see a little bit of a blink once again too.
Yeah, you hope they're going to kind of get out of the way here, but they could potentially act as a pick here, give an opportunity to those guys behind, give an opportunity to kind of make this a 2-wide battle in the final couple of laps here. We hit 3 to go, and we still sit now, totally caution-free, guys single-filed out. and not a ton of urgency right now, at least is being felt from those guys in third and fourth. Again, just waiting to see. Again, I think this could be, once that white flag waves, is when things may start to pick up. And even in the second pack here, no real sense of urgency, even from those guys further back here. All just kind of sitting and waiting for an opportunity to come up, waiting for somebody else to make that first move. Nobody, I think, daring to do that just quite yet.
2 laps to go. Next time by. In the real world, we have seen 30 last lap passes in Tallagega Superspeedway history, including Ross Chastain around Eric Jones for the last lap early on in this season for 2022, the NASCAR Cup Series. We'll see what happens here with the 90 and the 15. That 29 has been so close before, and you have to remember Rockingham just 2 weeks ago. I believe that 29 is going to do everything in his power to try and get around, but it's got to happen, and it's got to happen quickly. They're down the backstretch here. We have less than really 4 miles to the checkered flag. What will that 29 of Elam try to do, and can the 38 of Jeff Green help and aid in any way?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, here we go. This is it. We're heading off of turn number 4 for one more lap to go in this one. And it's going to be coming off of 2, I think, is when you start to put together that run, or at least heading into 3. But here we go. White flag waves. They got those lap cars just a little bit further ahead. That might actually help Crump and Frankenfield here. But yeah, here we go. Could the move start to appear? Look at the second pack right now. They're all single-filed as well. But here we go. Back up to the lead.
Don't know if it's going to be enough here. The 15 laid off. The 29 is on the outside.
Go.
Now he gets to the inside. Here comes the 29 of Elam. He doesn't go with the 15. He's actually going to shove the 90 of Scott Crump as they are side by side for the lead. The 15 went to the outside, but no help from Trevor Elam. Now, Elam has help from the 38 car. Can he back up and get the momentum he needs? Out of turn 4, Scott Crump has to protect. Here comes Trevor Elam. Elam to the outside, the 38 of Jeff Green to the inside. Elam is going to do it on the biggest stage. He'll win the fastest race this season in the first race of his career. Elam gets it done in the NASCAR RPG 250.
Ooh, Scott Crump with a big hit after the finish there, but we'll move to the back there. Chaos as well ensues just behind these guys. Scott Crump with the big crash. Tate Lytle grabs kind of that next position. Excuse me, Josh Robin grabs that next position behind these guys. Then Tate Lytle, Shane Terrian, with a little bit of issues there coming off the last corner. But Trevor Elam, how about that in that 29 car? We'll go back to that finish line camera there and take a look at just how close that was between these guys. 3 wide across the line. But man, oh man.
And you knew it was going to be a tall order when the 15 stepped out of line if the 29 was going to go with him. I don't believe so.
Oop, think we actually just missed that. Take a look here.
How about the first win, though? I love Tallagega Superspeedway. Yeah. That is awesome for that 29 car.
And then that late race contact, looks like it was 3, 4, 5 wide there across the line there for the rest of these guys. But yeah, I mean, celebrations in order for Trevor Elam. Certainly well-deserved there in terms of that win. It's been coming, I think, all season long. That car has had the pace to be a race winner. And for him to now get to do these celebrations, that's awesome for him. Celebrating there with the 05 alongside him as well.
Almost had the chance, really, to win 2 races in this round there. Didn't get it done at Rockingham. It's already well documented, but he made some great moves. And I believe he had help from that 38 of Jeff Green who went with him. I mean, once they were able to break apart the teammates there, it was just a matter of could he get the run. And he set up that perfectly out of turn 4 for another last lap pass. Way to go, Elam, in victory lane for the first time here tonight.
Yeah, really, really impressive job there by him. Yeah, just did everything that he needed to do right. So yeah, certainly earned these celebrations here, and going to look forward to speaking to him here in just a moment's time.
That does break a record here, folks. That is the fastest race of the season so far, and the only green flag season I think I've ever called for the Elite JoinAPS.com Cup Series. So I don't know necessarily if that is the case, but in my own personal knowledge, I don't think I have ever called a race where the yellow flag did not come out.
Yeah, there might have been one or two that I've called in the past, but it's definitely a rare occasion to see this. So that's awesome to see these guys be well behaved all the way through, and yeah, put together this result. And now the celebrations begin here. Trevor Elam, your race winner.
Yeah, this is going to be a popular win. I know there was very much said over the radio there the past 2 weeks there, but this 29 car, as you mentioned it, Rashad, it was coming. Not a matter of if but when, and he got it done here. See the 05 teammates, I'm guessing everybody just for fueled up racing, doing a great job there. Why not burn it down with the man you stuck behind there, you felt could do it. He definitely did do it, and this is going to be a popular one in the garage, virtually, if you will.
For sure. And let's take a look. Don't have anyone quite there in our waiting room just yet, so we're going to continue here. I'm doing my quick hand calculations on the points, and once we get those ready as well,
we got to figure out who's all still in here.
There's a whole thing going on there as well we got to figure out. So gotta quickly run through those, see if I can grab all the bonus points correctly and mark those too. But yeah, pretty hectic race. I think the order is going to be pretty crazy after the end of this too. We'll take a look once I get through these last couple of drivers here. See if I can find where they all finished as well.
Well, take your time. We're going to take a quick break myself because I have got to get some water in order to ask these questions there. So we'll leave you some sights and pictures. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. The winners and the top finishers, as well as your top 9 for the playoffs, are just a moment away.
All right, back with you guys here, just going through those final results in the run order as we continue to wait for our top 3 drivers to join us up inside the waiting room. Still waiting on both Chad Frankenfield and Trevor Elam to show up before we're able to get those post-race interviews underway. But we'll take a look at our race results anyways. Trevor Elam, Scott Crump, Chad Frankenfield making up your top 3. Then Jeff Green, Josh Robin, Tate Lytle. Taking that top 6, Shane Terrian, Alec Balvans, Michael Goodman, and Joey Chapman rounding out your top 10. For Michael Goodman, good start to that race. Not sure that was going to be enough points to advance him past this particular round. Gonna have to wait and see on that one. It's actually really close to the cut line from my initial calculations here. So yeah, we're gonna have to pretty quickly see how this all plays out and wait for those official results, because I think these unofficials ones could be a little bit misleading. But once we get Alex back, we'll speak with our leader in hopefully just a moment.
And
Alex,
I'm back.
Excellent. So we'll bring him in then, and yeah, for the first time this season, but I mean, we've talked about it potentially happening a number of times. Trevor Elam, you've had the car to win a couple of times this season. To get the job done tonight, it must feel very special, of course, to get it done here in the Cup Series. Talk us through your thoughts and emotions right now, those final few laps, and setting up that move on the final lap.
Yeah, man, it's been a really hard season so far, man. I just tell you what, it seemed like just we'd always bring the speed, but can never finish out the race, running first, second, third, fifth. Anything was better than where we've been finishing. We just haven't been bringing the finishes. And it sucks, but we finally get it done here tonight. I got to thank Jeff Green for the help there at the end. I tell you what, it was a roller coaster. We came close to winning the Xfinity race on Monday, same way, but things just didn't work out. But I tell you what, I'm happy finally to get back in victory lanes for the first time since 2020 up in the series. I'll tell you what, man, it's been a ball.
My apologies there. I did not know that you had won before, so I called that as your first win. It just seems like this win though has much more significance there, especially with that 15 car out in front there. Walk us through that last lap. I have to know you had by my calculation 14 laps to decide what you guys were going to do to get around those White Lightning Ford Mustangs, and you're able to do exactly just that. But what went through your mind that last lap?
Well, honestly, just timing the runs, y'all know better than anybody. It's just the way the runs pan out and taking the fastest line. But I had a chip on my shoulder from Rockingham with Chad, and I wasn't going to be denied by him tonight. I'll tell you that right now. It still is on my mind. Wanted to do it the clean way by beating him on the track. So.
Yeah, man. Well, still an impressive job. Obviously, I'm sure thinking about that earlier in the round and as the race played out tonight. But definitely played it well there. Didn't take out that 15 car and ended up making that pass, leaving him out to dry, and then ultimately making that move on his teammate just a few moments later to nab the win here. But we haven't gotten a chance to do this too much with you, but want to give you a chance to make shout-outs on the air. Really impressive race tonight, and obviously I think a very popular win throughout the grid.
Absolutely, man. I really hope to start doing this more often with y'all. It's been a pleasure. I know we only got a few races left, but next season I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, that was Trevor Elam there, the 29 car winner, the NASCAR RPG 250, the fastest race of the season. Doing a great job there, getting it in victory lane for the first time in 2 years. Let's bring in second place there, Scott Crump.
Yeah.
There he is there. Oh, go ahead there, Scott.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Scott, great race here tonight, kind of running up front there all night long, and to kind of nab that result. Not sure, actually just would have to take a look, but you've had a car, you've led a number of laps, haven't quite been able to put together those results you've been hoping for throughout the season. So to nab this second here, how much does that mean for you, and hopefully, in your case, put momentum to kind of nab that win maybe coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I only really came here with one thing in mind, that was to win this race, and I don't know, I got left by my teammate there the last lap.
Well, we were noticing that, once you guys got broke apart, that really opened up the door for the bow ties to try and get that run there. Were you surprised? I'm guessing so, by that 15 car, but ultimately, you guys both wanted to go ahead and win there. Just what was it like once you noticed that there was nobody behind you that coming to the backstretch?
Yeah, I knew once he left me, I was going to be a sitting duck there, and I thought he'd wait coming on the front stretch, coming to the line to make the move. That would have been the right time to make the move, and it would have been between us. Instead, left it for somebody else to win.
Yeah, I guess talk about what that dynamic is like. We've seen, it seems like where you guys are in terms of that Team White Lightning Racing, you guys are free to race. Where does that kind of come into play at a racetrack like this? Haven't gotten a chance to really talk to you guys about what that strategy plays out like. Obviously, great to see at shorter tracks free to race, but what kind of do you guys normally think of as the game plan here at a big track like Talladega?
I guess we really don't have one, so I think we just kind of got lucky there. We came out the pits together, so it just worked out for us that we were together.
Well, you still brought it home there. There were times where we saw some blinking out of you, and it was kind of concerning only because we did not know. We know that really bothered the O2 there as well, but you were able to bring it home in second place, still a podium finish. Want to give you the chance to shout out anyone and anything you'd like.
I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast. give a shout out to y'all, Rish and Alex. Y'all do a great job up in the booth. Also give a shout out to Chad for running the league and all the guys at White Lightning Racing. And sucks we couldn't bring home a win. I was hoping we were going to finish 1-2 there, but we'll finish 2-3.
All right. Well, congratulations then, Scott Crump. Still P2 finish, nothing to sneeze at there in terms of getting that result there, and hopefully we're getting the chance to talk to you up here in the booth more often here in the coming weeks, and of course in the upcoming season as well.
All right, thank you.
All right, Scott Crump there. Definitely a little bit disappointed, I think, with that result, and certainly discussion to go on there with teammate Chad Frankenfield, who, speaking of which, doesn't quite seem to be in the waiting room there. Not sure if we're going to get a chance to speak with him here before the end of the race. But while we are waiting for him, we'll give him a few moments here. We do have the final results here, and which drivers will be advancing on into the next round of the chase.
Drum roll, please. This is what we've been waiting for, that the action, despite it being under the green flag, we forgot it was really a race of two things here tonight, not to be left out of the playoff grid at all. And so 9 drivers, all with their season on the line, answered expertly so at Talladega, and they were able to get it done. So we'll see who that is.
And all I'm going to say is I'm pretty sure I got it spot on with my napkin math, so I will take that. Well, the drivers advancing are going to be Nick Massey, Tyler Foley, David Tooker does still make it through, despite those issues that he ran into, though I think very close it was at the end there. It might have been 1 or 0 points separation between him and Matthew Weeks. Tate Lytle, of course, advances after his win at Rockingham. Additionally, Chad Frankenfield, Shane Terrian, Joshua Adams, Joshua Clark, and Vincent Isabella are going to be the 9 drivers moving on to round number 2 of the JoinAPS Cup Series chase.
So congratulations out to those 9 drivers. Just 4 races left to decide who our championship for. 3 races left in the round of 2 before we decide our championship for in about 1 month's time. Can't believe that's already coming up here. It might be 5 weeks. I don't know if there's a week buffer. I don't know. I'll have to look at the schedule there. I just do know that we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of this here. And a big congratulations in order for all those guys, especially, I would say, Tooker. That had to have been nail-biting. Thankfully, we're not as advanced as what NBC Sports would have there with the live tracker, because I'm telling you, it would very much have been up and down that entire last lap at Talladega.
Yeah, man, what a crazy race. And with that, I mean, yeah, done with the super speedways, we kind of are going to head into a more traditional, I think, looking second round here of the chase. And I'll run through, I guess, what those tracks are. We're going to have Las Vegas Motor Speedway next week. Week after that's going to be Auto Club. And then it's going to end at Bristol. So Bristol is going to be an interesting way to end it off as well. And then the championship race at Iowa is going to be something to look forward to as well. I don't know if we've had a championship race at Iowa before. That's a unique one. So potentially a little bit of a different game to play there for those final 4 drivers.
Yeah, that'll be something that you'll definitely not want to miss at home, folks. So definitely keep us in your ear. Online, anywhere, anytime there. We are always on YouTube there for your guys' viewing pleasure. But also, be sure to watch us every Wednesday night at 8:30, so that Las Vegas race will be here next week. Starting the month of June off for us in Sin City. Don't want to miss that. 8:30 coverage begins Eastern Standard Time. But before we get there, we're going to have to wrap up things here. And how about just what we saw there? Final thoughts there, Rashaf. I think it was a different Talladega race. We often talk about the great unknown. And who knew that the great unknown would be that there was no big one tonight? It's always looming. It's lurking. It surprises you when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you're always thinking about it, but I mean the results are still a little bit more unpredictable. Still, I mean guys kind of a little bit all over the place in terms of what we're used to in finishing order. You get used to that here at a big track like this, but I mean absolutely hats off to these drivers for the way they raced together, the way they raced each other. It seemed like it was just a lot of respect out there in the racetrack right now. Obviously, some guys got left, kind of hanging to dry. And I'm sure there's going to be some resentment there, but the fact that we had no major collisions outside of Tyler Foley and David Tooker, and those were one car kind of incidents there for the most part. Obviously, a little bit of contact with someone else, but Yeah, I think that's really impressive there for us to end the season, or the Super Speedway season on that is pretty impressive here. So hopefully we keep that up for the upcoming races as well.
Hopefully, indeed. Well, from all of us here at the Elite Racing Network, we are so glad you could have joined us for tonight's NASCAR RPG 250. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors there, Blue Egg Marketing, C2 Freight there, NASCAR RPG, as well as Powerhouse Recycling, doing all they can to ensure that we give you guys a great race at home. Chad Frankenfield again for running this league, and then all of you guys that are fans that continue to watch and put forth the effort to making this such an incredibly fun series to watch every Wednesday night. We have some of the best iRacing action versus some of the competition we see on other platforms, and I'm so glad that we can be a part of it. But congratulations to Trevor Elam. He got it done there for Fueled Up Racing, that 29 car back in victory lane. We'll see who gets the next checkered flag in 1 week's time. So long from Tallagega Superspeedway. We'll see you then.